So, dude, I meant to tell you. Um, so, in my property business, I have like, 5 properties, and typically I get pretty long-term tenants. But I had a temporary tenant in one property, and then another property I started remodeling. And the temporary tenant was a friend of mine, and he lived there. He was buying a house, and so it took him a little bit longer than he expected. And so while he was staying there, he asked me if he could get a roommate, and I was like, "Yeah, that's totally cool." And I've met the roommate, and he was a real nice guy. And so anyway, so the guy, my tenant who I have the contract with, he finds a house, and he's starting to move out. Well, I have another property that's a smaller condo. Those 2 tenants know about the house, and they've wanted to move in there for a while. And so I worked it out to whenever, the people in the house move, that they can move in there. So, but obviously, like, it always requires cleanup. But now it's kind of one of those points, like a certain period of time goes by, it's just required like updates. Sometimes it's just painting. And then sometimes it's more like replacing refrigerators, stoves, and in this case, it's like I'm replacing like countertops and making some slightly bigger changes, not a major overhaul. And so I've got to have time to before they move in there, where nobody lives in that house. Well, the roommate doesn't have a shit together. He's just like, it's coming up to the point where it's time for them to move out, and he realizes he doesn't have anywhere to go. And so I was like, okay, well, maybe the people that are moving here, I kind of asked him what his budget was and all that, and he'd be a perfect tenant for the condo where the other people currently live. But the problem is, it's not a perfect, it's not like there's a kind of a time overlap in which they need time to get in there while I'm finishing it, and while I can't have anyone in there. Or rather, I made that sound confusing. Basically, I need time with no one in there. So they need to stay in their condo for a couple of weeks. And this guy can't be in there either because he's got a big dog, and he's got his own shit, and he's, kind of messy, I guess. But, so I'm like, wait, like, I would love to get you in this other property, but like, you have to find somewhere to stay for a couple of weeks. And I get that that's like a huge pain in the ass, but he doesn't own much stuff. It's just like, he's like an ETH miner and works, does like contracting, but just has his computer, a bed, and his clothes, basically. And so in my mind, I'm like, you have other friends, like, it's not the coolest thing to have to do, but like, figure out where to post up. Well, I don't know if he just didn't reach out. Maybe he's burnt, those opportunities or something. But it basically comes up to the day where he's like, I have nowhere to stay. And I really, like, like I said, he's a nice guy, and I didn't want to see him, like, I don't know what he was going to do, sleep out of his car with his dog. I have no idea. So I have this other property that's in the middle of a major remodel. So it's like the floors are ripped up. I put down levelers, so the floors basically look like concrete, but not like nice concrete. It has running water, but I don't have a sink in the bathroom or the kitchen because I've ripped them all out. I don't have a toilet in there. And anyway, I was like, well, it's in the middle of a complete remodel, and there's like, I told him all that. And he was like, well, could I buy a toilet? And I'm like, well, I have a toilet. It just needs to be hooked up. And he's like, well, I could do that. I'm like, all right, well, just come with me. I'll go show it to you. I'm like, this does not seem like an ideal situation. But at the same time, it's not me, and he sounds interested. And I'm like, let's just go look at it so you can at least see what you need to say no to. Well, so we go up in there, and it's kind of like my cheapest property. Like, it's kind of hood, not awful, but like, I don't know. So I take him there, and I tell him in advance it's a little hood. So we're rolling up in it, and it's basically like a big apartment complex, like, where people own the individual units. And so he's like, oh man, this isn't hood at all. And I'm like, okay, cool. Now, yeah, there was not a murder happening right at that moment, but like, I don't know, it's a little rough. The neighborhood's a little rougher. And, So then we go up into the spot and we open it up, and I'm just like expecting him to go, oh, yeah, never mind. Nope. He goes, oh, this is perfect. And I'm like, okay, let's walk in and take a look. And so he sees that the bathroom, like there's no bathtub because I've got that. I mean, literally I'm like doing the biggest remodel in this place that I've done there because it was just that time. And I want to make more money because as you know, the housing market's, blowing up. So yeah, he's like, well, I can live in here for, a day or two without running water. And I was like, okay. I mean, there's electricity. And he's like, yeah, I just need internet. I'm like, what are you going to do? So yeah, he ends up moving all of his stuff out into a place. I mean, I feel like I could probably get in trouble, but like there's no contract. And, but yeah, so a dude living in there. So like he's going to put the toilet in while he's there. And then I have to go over and put a sink in. So he's going to have to, I told him, I was like, I guess you're going to have to take bum baths or something. But I just thought it was really interesting.
I wanted you to be like, or I wanted him to be like, you're like, oh, there's no toilet. And you can be like, that's fine. I'll shit in the tub,
Yeah. I'll shit down the hole that the toilet connects to.
I'll just shit outside with the dog. No worries. Yeah. Don't even worry about it. At least he seems.
Basically, he did say, he was like, maybe I should just get a gym membership down the street for a little while. And I was like, yeah, if that's what you want to do. But there's also a part of me that like appreciates that. Like he, he basically was like, if I can't find a place, I'm going to have to move back to like Minnesota or Milwaukee or one of those M states. I can't remember. And I was like, well, is that what you're planning on doing? He was like, no, I don't want to move back there. And I was like, and that's when I was kind of like, well, I do have this spot. So I kind of also appreciate, definitely hustle's not the right word, but the willingness to like live in some, shit to keep moving forward. Cause basically that's his whole thing. He got out of his old city and state because he was going nowhere there, and he's had a better life since he's moved to Dallas and had a better job and all that.
I think about this all the time, honestly, because it's like, I'm sure you have too. Like, I mean, I lived in some fucking like sketch ass places growing up as a kid, and like even like as an adult, and like I'm always thinking back. I'm just like, when was the crossover? Like, when did like I feel like I got bougie, where I'm like, I can't do that. Like, we're about to sell this house, and like we're like, oh, well, maybe we could just get like some shitty cheap apartment, like while we build a cool house or something like that. And then you're like, I don't know, neighbors, like having to deal with like people around. It's so small.
Well, plus your idea of like a super shitty apartment is still like way better than your idea of a super shitty apartment like 5 years ago.
Like totally. That's what I'm saying. Like, when was that crossover? Like what was like the salary tier that shifted it from like, fuck that, I'm never living in that shithole again, to like,
right.
This is like, you should see like even our place in Hawaii, like it was like 450 square foot, all concrete, and it was like a prison cell, and there was 3 of us in there, and so it's like, and I loved it. It was the fucking greatest ever. That's and like to think about that now and be like, oh God, like I couldn't do it.
Wait, so 450 square feet. You all didn't have your own bedrooms, right?
There was.
Was it all one room that you stayed in?
All one. So it was like you walk in and you're like, there's the little tiniest kitchen you've ever seen right here on your right, and there's just a room, and then there's like a little bathroom, and then it went out into a little patio, right? And so what we did is we bought a futon, and the futon up like a couch. So that was like a divider between where the bedroom started,
the two sides,
the living room.
Yeah.
And then there was a bed. And so it's like me and Doane were on the bed, and our buddy Shane was on that futon. So it's like most of the time he didn't even put it down. He just slept on it like a couch. And then there was like this little privacy. Like sheet kind of divider thing, in case need sexy time or something like that. Like we had like a little privacy.
Total privacy.
Yes, total privacy. There's no way he could have ever heard or seen anything.
Well, yeah. So that's like a different version of like what I appreciate that too, because you had to, you were doing that but you got to like experience time in Hawaii and experience all these things and do things that you wanted to do, but sort of sacrificed like having a nice place.
Well, that
or
was
whatever.
at the time when I was working on a startup. That was when I was working on My Baby, Our Baby with Bo. That was like my first ever startup. Like I was all in on. I quit my job, and like I was all in on a startup.
I remember.
So I didn't have money. Doane was waitressing
Yeah.
at Cheeseburger in Paradise. I was like
Hell yeah.
working on a startup and like doing like whatever little freelance work that I could find, just to like,
Right.
so we could pay the little bit of rent that we were sharing in this room with a friend. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
like that was truly like the working out of a garage type of time.
Right.
you
Working
know?
and
But I
living
was
out of
in
the garage.
Hawaii, you know, so it's kind of like,
Yeah, it's not the
you know,
worst.
it could be
Yeah.
a lot worse.
Do you know that guy? I don't know his actual name, and I think he quit going by this because I just saw this pop up on maybe Twitter or something yesterday. But he used to go by the Fat Jewish. Have you heard of this guy?
I've heard of this. Yes.
He's the dude who basically created that rosé all day wine, and then I don't know what else he did. Like he blew up. I know he's got some other like a tequila or something now. But I just saw a post yesterday, and it basically, he was like, yeah, there was a point in which I knew I had to move to LA to do the things that I wanted to do, but I was broke and I had nowhere to stay. He was like, I ended up renting a storage unit, and I lived out of there. And he was like, yeah, I would give the security guard weed to keep from ratting me out, and I made friends with him. And that way I could stay living there, and even like at night he would like plug a TV in and run an extension cord or something like that. And then he even says like, yeah, once after, like, you know, he's like a cool guy. He's like a big guy, but he's like very like, you know, the life of the party kind of guy based on what I know. I don't know him personally or anything, but anyway, he was like, yeah, you know, I met this girl and I brought her back and she was like, hell no. And she bounced. And he was like, you know, that's what I had to do. And it was awkward and, you know, not what I wanted to do, but I knew I had to in order to like get to the place that I needed to be in order to launch my career. And now I've, you know, sold multiple companies. I'm worth, you know, X $100 million, you know, whatever. And the kind of whole point was like, yeah, something, you know, it's the sacrifices you have to make that you don't want to in order to get the things that you want. So anyway.
And on top of that too, you know, that's like a trend now, right? Of like not to live in, but your office is a storage unit.
Is it a storage unit? No.
Like, because you get the ones that have like air conditioning and like climate controlled and whatever.
Well, yeah, most of them are like climate controlled
so
now, right?
You spend a couple $100 a month and you have this space that you could throw a desk in, your computers in, like especially if you're like working on hardware or something, and like you just roll the door up.
Yeah.
You got some breeze, you know, or close it if you want like an air conditioner thing. You know, it's like it's totally like the new garage.
Not ideal, but definitely I could see how that could work.
I mean, even
a couple $100, you're right, dude.
It's like the best deal ever for concrete floors and cool metal building, you know? Like it's
yeah,
like,
totally.
It's
that's how you're pitching it when your job postings,
you know?
Yeah. Open workspace.
Yeah, exactly. Right here. We're
love
really
it.
close. You know, you have to sit right out here on my lap just so that we can like fit in this fucking thing. But no, that's like, dude, when we were building Like Us, I had a vending machine in the garage, like next to my car.
I remember you used to have it in your house when we
I had
first
it in the
started
driveway when we
fucking with
first
it.
started. But then when we moved, it was in a garage, and I had the car parked there, and then I had, you know, because it's like we had babies, I had boxes of diapers, and that was my standing desk. And so I put like 3 boxes, and I put the laptop on top of it, and then I plug it into the hardware into the vending machine. And so I'm just standing there in this garage with the door open, and like people just walking by going, "What the fuck is happening in here?" Like, is he building a bomb? like I would get like the creepiest, like, you know, like creeper vibe looks like at night when I'm just sitting in there work, because I'd be in there like 2 a.m. You know, like working on this thing. But yeah, it's crazy. Like you do what you got to do. Like. It's like, I say that, and now I'm like, I want a cool place now, though. Like, I I
Yeah.
went through that. That
You-
was fun. That was cool. I don't really want to do it again though.
But that's the way it should work. You do that. Ideally, ideally, there's only one time in your life you have to live in a storage unit to get where you want to be in
hope,
life.
you hope,
And then
right?
now doing what you have to do, like when we were moving and building a house and it wasn't ready, like we moved, the whole family, including my mom, into the little, house, which is like, 1,150 square feet, which, yeah, that I can say that. And somebody's like, that sounds amazing, but that sucked for us at the time. So it's like the level of doing what you have to do just like raises, just like your version of like a shitty apartment now is probably like a nice apartment to, a ton of people.
It's like a little tiny place with 2 kids and my wife and 2 dogs, and now a fucking hamster rat thing where I'm just like how do you fit all that and still like not feel so cramped, and just like,
yeah,
it's like you literally will hide in the toilet just to get some time to yourself, like,
yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, why do you take such long shits? Oh, don't worry about it.
Have you seen
in there
the
playing
movie
Wordle.
This Is 40?
Yes.
I guess it's totally what he does. He's like, I just want some time to myself.
Yeah.
He's just like, he goes, I told you I had a meeting, but I just went to go see the movies. I just went to the movies to have some time to myself. She's like, I want to go to the movies. So yeah, that's totally my life. Anyway,
right on. Well, hustle, do what you got to do.
hustle, make sacrifices.
Live in a fucking shed.
Yep. Be homeless, make money.
All right, man. Deuces.
Later.